Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural episode of the SUSpiracy Podcast, part of Cancel Cult Productions. I'm your host, Alex.
Hi, Alex. I'm Marissa.
Hi, Marissa. Nice to meet you.
What are you thinking about this week, Alex?
Thinking about chemtrails. To be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, actually, we should probably give a disclaimer that there probably will be a little bit of cussing.
I can't do PG.
And that conspiracy theories are conspiracy theories for a reason. So YouTube, don't flag us for providing misinformation. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, okay? Today we're going to discuss a topic that really isn't even a conspiracy to begin with, not even a little bit. It's gotten to the point where the government doesn't even try to hide what they're doing anymore. It's pretty disgusting. Chemtrails are real, and you've seen them. I'm not here to prove that they exist. I'm just here to explain why they exist. It's not chemical warfare. It's not 5G. It's not Bill Gates wanting to chip all of us in any kind of way. It's not that kind of conspiracy. But in a practical way, a way that after you hear it, you go, I guess I could probably be accurate. I also want to preface this by saying I am not a proponent of chemtrails, of the theory, in any connection to the term of warfare, population control. My argument is built around the original purpose of chemtrails, the original purpose being geoengineering and weather manipulation. So that's my, I don't know what you call it even. What is it?
I guess.
Opening statement.
Yeah. Opening statement.
That's my opening statement.
That's fair.
So I think normally we'll have an announcement section, but because this is episode 1, there are no announcements, obviously. Oh, there are kind of.
Okay.
We do have an email address that viewers can email into if they want to request maybe a potential have us look at a certain conspiracy theory, or if they want to just chat or have something read at the end of the show, and that is at canceledcultproductions@gmail.com. And you can find us on Facebook at Canceled Cult, facebook.com/Canceled Cult, or at Canceled Cult.
Thank you.
That's what I got. Perfect. Good announcements.
Good announcements.
Yeah. So do you want to start, or am I going to start?
I think you're going to start this time.
How fast do you want to lose?
I think I'm prepared.
Okay. I have quotes and video evidence that will be linked in the show notes. And if you're on YouTube, I will also link the video in the description down below. From one Dr. Rosalin Peterson. Okay. PhD. I don't know if it's I actually don't know if it's PhD. Doctor is her title, though. She is the California president and co-founder of the Agricultural Defense Coalition, and she did speak. These quotes were spoken at a United Nations conference, and you can actually find this video on the UN.org, www.un.org. And like I said, I'll link the video in the description down below. She said that more than 50 weather modification programs are underway across the United States from the government and private companies. She also said that these programs impact agriculture, and there are programs around the world. International corporations are modifying our weather all the time, and they are modifying it in ways that cover thousands and thousands of square miles. Most of it is chemically altered, so that what happens is we are putting ground-based chemicals that are shot into the air, or chemicals that are coming from airplanes that change and modify our weather. She says many times we're talking about artificially putting chemicals like sulfur or particulates into the atmosphere and what they call geoengineering schemes to reduce and help the planet's supposedly tremendous climate change that's happening right now.
Right.
That might be a good episode.
Okay, right. This is your first point? This is your irrefutable evidence?
Well, yeah, it's the UN.
UN, yes.
The United Nations, if you didn't know what that was.
You know the name of the project.
What project?
Okay, so the albedo, ALBEDO modification project, that would be the weather modification project that you were
Which
referring
one?
to.
There are over 50 projects underway.
Right, the modification project, this is the name of the entire thing.
I didn't know that, but okay.
Okay. So it's the theory to combat global warming by adding certain reflective elements to the atmosphere or other things. That is being researched. It is not actually, there are no active programs. It's still very early in the research. According to the Harvard website, I found that on.
Okay, well, Harvard is Ivy League. Nobody actually learns anything
Okay,
at Harvard.
Ivy League is a scam, but that's a different episode.
Thank you.
This still is relevant.
Okay. Well, I have studies this is from the same Dr. Rosalin Peterson. Now, and then in the video, I can't show it to you because we're doing this right now, but it looks old. Like it looks very old. Like it's box screen. It's not 16:9 aspect ratio like that has been commonplace for the last 10 years. It's not. It's old. It's very old. But she said here that studies from branches such as the Environmental Protection Agency, Federal Aviation Administration, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration all have stated that aluminum, barium, lead, arsenic, chromium, cadmium, selenium, and silver are all present in the atmosphere today. How do heavy metals get there? How do they get up there? They're heavy, and they're metal.
Let me see if I have that.
You got any irrefutable...
I mean, I have stuff. Okay. I just don't know if I have stuff on barium, which I can give you information on because that is the most common cited heavy metal that people are referring to in areas that have been tested. Though the first person who said, I have these facts, these areas were tested and we had this high percentage, was Jim Mars. I don't know if you have anything from Mr. Jim Mars. He's cited a lot. He said that this area was analyzed with 3 times the amount of barium that we would normally expect to find, which would be 6.8 parts per million.
Sure.
Total disclosure, I'm not sure if the 6.8 parts per million is what he said he measured or if that's what it should have been. It was one of those.
Cool.
And they reanalyzed it, and they proved that he misused his equipment. And because he was a dummy. Yes, because they reanalyzed it. They said it was equipment misuse, exaggerated the amount of barium in the atmosphere by a factor of 100.
But who?
Scientists.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure. It was the scientists. They did it. The government,
scientist.
Right.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Those heavy metals that are found in the air, all of these chemicals come with their own set of health issues, including neurological effects. You should relate to that one pretty hard.
Kiss my ass.
Not only for your big head, but gastrointestinal disorders, which I can relate to, kidney and liver damage. I was going to say you could relate to that, but that's probably the alcohol. Hormonal imbalances, and more. And so I have a little note here. Is cancel culture and societal sensitivity a direct result of chemtrails? I think so.
That's kind of a leap.
Can't refute that one, can you?
No, because it's
proof there.
No, that's a question. You're asking opinions.
So is it the chemtrails or is it fluoride?
Now you're just completely off course.
Well, both of them make you docile, so.
To what end?
Evidently. I don't know. That's a good question.
Right.
That was in there for comedic relief, so.
Okay.
I don't actually have any answers to that one at all, so.
So you're just saying stuff.
Yeah.
Now. Okay. All right. I know what you're talking about. All of those things you cited are known effects for barium overdose, but are there any reports of people like reporting more of those symptoms than normal in areas where people have reported a lot of these so-called chemtrails?
Well, I mean, look at the sky. You can see chemtrails on a day-to-day basis.
Those are. Are you sure those aren't contrails? Yes.
What would you have? What would you have them believe? That
I
it's
would
some
have
sort
them
of
believe
vortex?
that it's a lot less complicated than you're making it out to be. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition would have you believe that the trails in the sky are produced by planes are some sort of aerodynamic vortex.
Vortex?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you probably wrote that down.
Not true,
okay.
as a normal contrail dissipates within an hour max of time. It doesn't hang around like clouds. These chemtrails last for over half of a day.
There are actually things... I have that, too, in here. Hold on.
Of course you do.
I do. I research. It's one of these. Dead air.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the SUSpiracy Podcast.
Right.
I mean, you're trying to repeat
on the page that I ripped off somewhere. The dissipate quickly. Yes, I have it. It was the first thing I wrote down, and that's why I lost it.
Okay.
So the people tend to believe that contrails, the condensation trails behind a plane, would dissipate quickly, and chemtrails may be the long-lasting trails because of their different chemical composition.
Oh, chemical.
Correct?
Chemical composition?
Is that what you're believing? That's what I'm clarifying. Yes. Okay. The color differences in the crisscross patterns could be caused by just different atmospheric conditions, different temperatures, different humidity.
Could.
Yes.
Okay.
That's just as strong as it could be that they're putting a whole bunch of mind control shit in the atmosphere.
You're the opposition. I'm saying it's real. You have to refute that. And if could is your
I'm saying this is reasonable doubt. These are things that it could have been.
I mean,
that are just as likely to be guilty. I mean, because what are the chances that the whole government does all of this and there's not one whistleblower?
Like, I mean, police seeing a bloody knife in somebody's car is beyond a reasonable doubt.
This is less evidence than that.
The reason that these vortices change colors could be this is not beyond a reasonable doubt.
I would think it is, though, because it's like, could chemtrails have caused it? Yes. But is that 100% the definite explanation? No, because there are all of these other potential explanations.
Okay. I guess. Another thing that I have here is I'm going to show an image on the screen of what chemtrails look like. And you're going to notice a pattern when looking at this. Well, it's not even just that, right? You'll notice that it'll go crisscross, but the thing is that why are planes going straight up in the air or straight down?
Because maybe they needed to change their elevation for whatever reason.
You're not going to elevate an airplane at a 90-degree angle.
Did I miss when you went to pilot school?
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. I think that's a little bit weird. Just from anything that I've ever seen in the news and in the media, you don't fly an airplane at 90-degree angles because of aerodynamics. So, but since you can't refute that, I guess we'll move on.
You can't prove it.
I mean, just look at them. See for yourself. Anybody listening to this, look at them for yourself and ask yourself, how in the fucking airplane is going to fly like an algebra assignment? Not possible.
Right.
Okay. So as if the likelihood of chemtrails being real wasn't already a possibility, on January 11th, 2021, Forbes, the well-respected business magazine that it is, published an article covering how billionaire playboy William Gates, he's got a plan.
We're not thinking Bill Gates maybe has lost a little bit of his...
He's not chipping people, but this is proven to be true. Mr. William Gates has a venture that aims to spray dust into the atmosphere to block the sun. Textbook weather modification. If people are setting out to geoengineer so-called global warming crises, how is it a stretch to think that spraying chemicals into the air is a far cry from reality? I would ask you. This is true. This was in the media.
There are a lot of things that are in the media. That doesn't make them true.
Okay. But this is like proven. Like he wants to spray dust into the sky to block the sun
You're
to
saying
combat global warming.
Wants to.
Yeah, I'm not saying he
You're
is.
saying that's not something that's being done.
I'm not saying he's done it yet. But I mean, he's already chipped us. Hey, you got a magnet? Put it on your vaccination site, I bet. See what happens.
Should I go get a magnet? Do you want me to get a fucking magnet?
Fridge magnets won't work.
We have strong magnets. I can get a magnet.
No, it's fine.
All right, fine. I have something that's probably as good as yours. I have a quote from Edward Snowden.
Oh, jeez.
Now, it wasn't necessarily this year, and it was Joe Rogan he was speaking to, but he did say, in case you were wondering, chemtrails are not a thing. I had ridiculous access to the networks of the NSA, the CIA, and the military. All three groups. I couldn't find anything.
I can totally 100% refute that.
That he couldn't find evidence? You talked to Edward Snowden?
No,
you guys hang out on
that
weekends?
I've talked to him, but that the military does know about it. And I do have a YouTube link that will be linked below that showcases several weathermen on air stating in their weather forecast of the military spraying what is known as chaff into the air. And chaff is essentially tiny bits of aluminum that are used to test radar systems. Radar bounces off reflective material so that they can test the live Dopplers and the military radars and everything.
And they're saying that it's airplanes, commercial planes that are being used to spray these things into the air?
No, nobody's claiming commercial airplanes.
Okay,
because they're not commercial airplanes.
A necessary part of it.
They're not commercial airplanes because I also have... I found numerous photos of planes loaded with tanks.
Those are barrels, and I actually have something on the barrels. I'm very glad that you brought
Okay, do you have pictures?
Up.
Because why are they hooked up to hoses if they're not spraying anything? I'd love to know. Why would you?
I'm writing things down, and I can tell you exactly why they're hooked up to.
I understand that. But so the purpose is supposed to be to simulate a fully loaded aircraft, but why tanks?
Tanks because... with the barrels and with the hoses, because that allows them to move the water from different parts of the barrels to simulate the weight being in different areas. It's faster. It helps them balance it differently rather than pouring it.
Right.
It says it on the thing,
you
on the
wrote
website
it down.
I looked at. Yeah, I wrote it down. I didn't make it up and then write it down. I wrote it down.
Or...
from the internet. The internet
to shift the liquid from one tank to outside the airplane and kill us all.
Or just one barrel to another barrel.
I don't think that's what's happening here. I think...
I don't think so. Is your irrefutable evidence?
But the military they've already admitted to using chaff to test which is how the aluminum probably got into our atmosphere.
I'm not denying that they've used this thing. I'm saying that they're probably not using it in form of chemtrails. Chad's probably hanging out in the environment. I don't care. It's probably just chilling up there.
It's Chaf, not Chad.
Chad just chilling up there in the sky.
I want to know how, if they've already admitted to doing this, how spraying anything else is a far cry.
Admitting to one thing is not an admission of anything else.
Okay. Most certainly is, but...
says you.
Yeah. I don't really have much else, to be honest.
I do.
I mean, I have some stuff, but...
Have you heard of Professor David Keith?
I haven't, because every time I Google search chemtrails proof, I got a website like Harvard or... other sites like that, other news sites that are like, these are the people that believe in chemtrails. Are chemtrails real?
So you're you're complaining right now about finding scholarly and news articles.
Okay, first of all, Harvard isn't they're not scholars over at Harvard.
They are. Really they are a university. They at least get credit for that.
Yeah. It was incredibly difficult. Anything that you're talking about was incredibly difficult to find evidence against that.
So you're saying you're having a hard time proving yourself right?
Look, I don't believe
So maybe you're
in
not
chemtrails. The whole purpose is one person has to play devil's advocate. So that's what I was trying to do.
You just proved me right. I just won, I think.
What are you talking about?
You just said you don't believe.
I thought the whole purpose of the podcast was if one of us didn't believe, one of us had to play devil's advocate.
You're not wrong. I'm just chilling.
Is that not accurate anymore?
I'm just you know.
But after
But I
finding
never
all
got
this
to tell
stuff,
you about Professor David Keith.
Fuck that guy.
You don't want to hear what the professor has to say?
What do you have to say?
Professor David Keith of Harvard University.
Yeah.
Right. He said, ordinary contrails can last longer or change appearance along a flight path from one point to another, depending on varying temperature and humidity. Professor David Keith said that. That's what I was talking about earlier. I got the name. I found it. I should be more organized. I'm not.
Professor David Keith, huh?
Yes.
Harvard graduate?
Harvard University. He teaches there.
Okay, so we're talking about like schools that produce secret societies.
Some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I totally trust that guy.
There is also polls. Here, I wrote them down. It was a bar graph. It had a name, but I don't know how I fucked that up. They polled Americans, and I had dates, but essentially it was the most recent one was like 2017, I believe. I can find that at some point. The amount of Americans that believe they are the ideas of the whole idea behind chemtrails is completely false is 32%. That is the highest percentage, though, of any of the different categories.
32% of the country are idiots. Gotcha.
15% believe that it is somewhat false. They're just keeping an open mind because, you know.
Somewhat false. The military's spraying
Suspend your
chaff.
disbelief.
Obviously, they're spraying shit into the air, so obviously.
19% believe that it's somewhat true.
Okay.
9% believe that it's completely true. So you've got 9% of people.
Plus somewhat true, which would be where I would sit.
There is 25%, our second place winner, that believes that they just don't have an opinion. They're uncertain.
I mean, who really cares if this is happening, I guess. But I also want to preface this by saying when thinking of chemtrails that I only, like I said in the beginning, I only went into it about weather modification.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of different things
but
that people would speculate that it might be used for.
Well, I know I've seen other people have ideas of some sort of like chemical warfare, mind control, different things like that. Some people think that chemtrails make you more docile so that we can be controlled. But really, any evidence of that is hard to come by. That's just a little too far down the rabbit hole, I think. But what isn't hard to come by is a military using chaff. That's facts. Philanthropist, playboy, William Gates. Philanthropist. Shut up. Wanting to spray the sky to block UV rays from some sort of fake climate change.
Because people believe anything if they say it's Bill Gates. Right?
And I feel like, I mean, you got to be a special kind of person to not be in that somewhat possible or somewhat not possible category. If you're in the camp of it's definitely not real,
which is the majority of people.
Not really, because somewhat true and completely true need to be added together because it's true. Somewhat false and false don't need to be added to because somewhat false would indicate that there's a part of some people that are like, well, I don't think it's completely false. So you have to add all those up against your completely false.
So, you know, the average IQ that people are trying to reach, the average IQ.
Okay.
50% of people are below that number. That's what makes it an average, right? That is who,
50%. Okay.
Right. Yeah. That is who voted for those other numbers.
I definitely know who here is in
I walked into that one a little bit.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. There's just some other, like, just bird-brained ideas. Some theorists speculate that the COVID-19 pandemic is related to chemtrails. I find that to be completely laughable.
What is the COVID-19 pandemic not related to?
Right. And Bill Gates wants to chip us.
Of course.
That's fine.
Of course. Why wouldn't he?
Again, this comes from that chemical warfare aspect, and that's not really what I'm about. I don't believe that. I don't feel like the government would be trying to kill all of us. So I don't really...
Right, because what would they benefit from that?
In another country, wouldn't be just flying commercial airliners in our airspace without us knowing about it?
It feels unlikely.
So I just don't feel like warfare is a thing.
Warfare, unless they were testing it, because they've done that. I'm not trying to be on your side here, but like they have tested warfare. There's also the possible motivation of mind control. You know, if these metals came together and created something that could control everybody's minds, but that might be in the same vein as your whole they make people docile.
Right.
There's also the mind control. That's what I just said.
Yep.
Forced sterilization.
Okay.
So just reducing population reduction in that way. Just because, and that could potentially, I mean, we were talking this morning about how people are freaking out about how fertility is declining, but
that's true. Another point for me. Nice.
But I mean, I brought that up because you didn't, but there's no evidence that is happening in areas that chemtrails are reported more frequently.
Right. And like I said, too, it was just incredibly hard. So like the whole COVID-19 pandemic being related to the chemtrails came from the only article or proof I could find on it was a link on Reddit. It was to an APM research article, which I think they're fairly reputable. But it wasn't about anything about chemtrails. It was more about how COVID rates are more than double that amongst certain minorities than of Asian and white people. So people thought that the U.S. government was somehow smart enough to make some sort of race-seeking ability within chemicals. I thought that was completely ridiculous.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, there was one more thing I had. New York Times, October 28th, 2020. And I actually read this when I was on a work trip in the hotel, and I found it again. So let's see here. In October of 2020, the New York Times published an article discussing what is called solar geoengineering. Flashy name, same old Uncle Sam antics. The idea, not ideal, is to spray a compound of chemicals into the atmosphere to reflect the sun off the planet, drastically changing the planet's temperature. This method has been derided as dangerous and illusory. As if people keep burning fossil fuels, it's going to keep all of that shit in the planet. If they dome it.
The greenhouse effect. You used a lot of big words.
Yeah, because greenhouse effect is. I learned that in like kindergarten, and
that's what you just described with big words.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see here. It's being talked about in the capacity for changing the weather. A nonprofit organization called Silver Lining announced a $3 million research grant to Cornell University, the University of Washington, and Rutgers University.
Are we okay with these colleges?
National Center of Atmospheric Research.
Because Harvard apparently isn't relevant.
That is a center,
these
the National Center for Atmospheric Research, and others. The work will focus on practical questions such as how high in the atmosphere to inject sunlight-reflecting aerosols, how to shoot the right size particles into the clouds to make them brighter, and the effect on the world's food supply, which goes back to Miss Dr. Rosalin Peterson talking about the agricultural effects of chemtrails. So,
okay, you're saying that they're asking questions.
They've provided grants. Yes,
they provided grants to ask questions.
To start the research.
So they're sitting around and asking each other questions.
That's what we're doing, right?
Yes, but we're not injecting chemicals into the atmosphere.
Well, not yet. Pretty soon. I got my pilot's license tomorrow.
It's just that easy.
Pretty much.
You know, I wrote something down about the Wright brothers, actually, but then I don't know. They're kind of sketchy, too. There's some evidence that they're not really. But
the Wright brothers aren't real.
Oh.
They never existed.
We may have to explore that.
It was the government the whole time.
There is a disease that has been commonly associated with chemtrails.
Okay.
Morgellons disease.
Yep.
But Morgellons disease, the cases rate back to the 17th century, or range back to the 17th century. So they're back. Now, the Wright brothers' first flight, I believe, was 1903.
Hold on, that turned off.
Where was I?
Okay. The Wright brothers.
Wright brothers. That this Morgellons disease, which has been commonly associated with chemtrails,
okay,
is very old. And the Wright brothers took their first flight in 1903. Now, if it actually predates that, if it was not them, it still was not in the 17th century. Unless we're talking about ancient astronauts, which we are not at yet.
Right.
So, I mean, if chemtrails were causing this disease, why would it be older than planes?
Because it wasn't. There's no actual evidence of that.
Airplanes?
What, this is some sort of
this
disease
Morgellons disease.
Okay, but I can get cancer from smoking. I can get cancer from just sitting on my ass for too long. I can get cancer from
not chemtrails.
Not using the restroom. I can get cancer a million different ways.
Everybody already has cancer.
So Morgellons disease.
But cancer is not actually. It's one of the only things not linked to any type of reactions to any of the heavy metals found in what people would consider
convenient.
Right. Yeah. So cancer, no.
Right. It's because we are all.
I'm glad you brought that up.
All
because we already have it, but that's not. We're not there yet.
But
that's getting ahead of yourself.
I was more stating it in the way that just because you get a disease from something doesn't mean you don't get it from something else.
Okay.
So, you can get gonorrhea from a toilet seat.
That's not true.
Oh, thought so. I was testing you.
Yeah. So. Did I pass?
No.
Oh.
You were completely incorrect.
I'm pretty sure that's not true. I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you have a lot more stuff than I did.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I did my research.
I tried.
It was honestly hard to find anything that wasn't like, hey, they're obviously fake. So that was
4
cool.
pages of script here, and I've read it all. So
I wrote in different directions with weird exclamation points at work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I've proven my point. I think that I've made solid arguments here.
That's debatable. Hashtag debatable. Yeah, I don't think so. Do you have anything else for the conspiracy itself?
For the conspiracy itself, yes. Actually, one thing. Did you, in your research, come across the jelly?
The jelly?
The jelly.
Like petroleum jelly?
No, I was picturing it more like, do you remember the jelly in the Neopets game?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like the big giant one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of what I was imagining. That might not be... I didn't find any pictures of this jelly. Okay. But they found it in Scotland and the UK in a bunch of places. They were like, there's this weird, big, like, glowy jelly thing.
Weird.
And it's all, like, wiggly. I don't know how to make a wiggly. Okay. But it was wiggly. And... I don't know why that's relevant, but it was linked to chemtrails. They were like, all these trails from planes are here, and like also so is this wiggly jelly. So it was tested. Okay. And that jelly was 99% water. And although they did not, as far as I could tell, identify the other 1%, 100%, they were able to tell that it was a fungus of some kind. Okay. So that's really unlikely that it actually had anything to do with the chemtrails, but it is commonly cited as evidence.
So a fungus did come from chemtrails then?
No, a fungus made a jelly in Scotland. First, folks.
Scotland jelly is a direct result.
Scotland jelly?
Of chemtrails. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have other segments in other episodes too. But was that the last thing that you had for the theory
As
aspect?
far as I'm aware, I was actually, I did write down that I'm curious as to where we as, if you're saying government, so we as a nation are procuring all of these different chemicals and where they're being stored.
Well, I mean, they don't. What do you mean procuring?
I mean, we can't have access to everything just here. They need to be buying it from somebody. And if we're getting it in these high of quantities, then there's got to be a trail somewhere.
Okay, aluminum you can get at the supermarket.
Okay, but the amount of aluminum that you
scissors,
would
chaff it up, and then you
okay, but
spray
it's
it
not
up.
just aluminum because you could do that with deodorant
Okay.
too if we were talking
Aerosol.
aluminum.
Spray paint. That's an aerosol. I'm sure that's not the same aerosol, but just silver. Pawn shop, plenty of it.
Again, in the
Ounce
quantities
of silver.
though,
I don't know what cadmium is or a selenium.
they're heavy metals.
Chromium, I assume, is what you could find on my cousin's truck. Arsenic, something we could probably find in our attic.
That's probably true.
Or is that arsenic? Or is that fire? That's not fire. That's arson.
That's arson.
Arsenic is a
right.
mold, right?
No, I mean it's bad.
What is it?
Um,
That's a fucking theory right there.
it's a bad thing. I didn't
Holy
expect to be
shit.
asked what arsenic was today.
Well, I have it written down here, so.
Okay, well I know it's bad and it is associated with bad things, and that's what I know about arsenic.
I feel like essentially you dig for metal, so we wouldn't need to acquire it anywhere but here.
Okay,
So.
but I don't think every metal is indigenous to the U.S.
It's indigenous to Earth, which we're all a part of, and if you dig deep enough, you will find it.
Inspirational.
I don't know if that's true, but
No, but it was deep and it
Sounded
made me
good.
feel good.
so
Yeah. If you dig deep enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You'll get to the other side.
That
right?
is all I have. Yes, you'll get to China,
All the way to China.
and then maybe you can help them like reproduce because evidently they're having a tough go of it. Probably because of chemtrails.
Now they're letting them have a third one now
I know, because they're having a tough go of it
because of the chemtrails.
because of the chemtrails, most likely.
Well, are you really decided?
What?
Are we decided?
I'm not. I think I'm in the camp of I don't think it's true, but I'm not going to say it's fully false. It's somewhat false.
I'm going to join you in the somewhat false. I'm
Yep.
not going anywhere near the somewhat true.
Like I said, you got to be dumb to go completely
I'm not
false.
saying there's no chance because they're researching the possibilities of doing it now.
Right. That was my main thing. That was the main stuff that I could
But
find.
there's no evidence that it's currently being done.
Well, I mean,
So it's
What
out
was
in
it?
the open, you know? We haven't decided.
more than 50 weather modification programs underway across the United States. Just the United States. Nuts.
Nuts.
So yeah, I think that's where I sit. Somewhat false. But I tried my best to find supporting evidence of weather modification anyway. I wasn't going to touch the 5G and the COVID-19 pandemic. 'Cause, well, also YouTube doesn't like the word COVID-19.
Fair enough,
So-
but the fertility one was probably the best argument. And
And I didn't even make
I'm
that
the
one.
one that
I didn't
brought
even
that up.
find that one. But yeah,
I
that's
fucked
good.
myself.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, I think the plan is then to kind of at the end of each episode leave it open-ended, right? So
would think so.
We're not gonna say well,
we don't know.
we
for
kind of
sure.
gave our opinion.
We know what we think.
right.
Right.
Kind of open-ended to see what you guys think. And if you want to let us know, you can email us again at cancelcallproductions@gmail.com. So, what do we do at the end? It's going to be shorter than an hour.
I guess we say
were
goodbye.
At 33 minutes. But is there do we talk about what we're going to do maybe next week?
We can preview next week.
I don't remember next week's episode.
Birds.
Birds? Are birds real?
Birds
Is that
are
what it
government
is?
drones.
Like government drones?
Birds were replaced by
Okay.
government drones. I don't believe it, but you do.
Yeah, I'm totally in the camp of their birds don't exist. Anyways, so next week's episode will be birds. That's weird. It feels weird to say just birds.
Birds. It's birds.
Birds?
I mean, you can say it with a question mark at the end.
Yeah. And like I said, it'll be a little bit shorter episode because this was the first one. We didn't know how we're going to do it. We'll probably next week have a little more structure.
Yeah, I
different
think so.
segments.
We'll figure it out.
You know, like the podcast that we listen to have like announcements and then then they go down like the timeline. So then
I understand. We'll figure it out.
We'll get it figured out. But we just wanted to record this because it's something we wanted to do. Do we need any other reason than that? So yeah, next week's birds. You can follow us on social media at Canceled Cult, not Cancel Cult Productions. I couldn't fit Productions. It was too many characters. So.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, so it's just Cancel Cult. And that's just Facebook right now, but Twitter soon. YouTube is Cancel Cult Productions, but we don't have a custom URL. So you just go to the search bar and search Cancel Cult Productions. You'll find it there. And then the email, cancelcultproductions@gmail.com. If anybody wants us to cover anything specific, you can email us over there. I'd like to have like a viewer segment. If we get viewers, I'd like to have a viewer segment at the very end, kind of like everybody else does, where they're just like...
Or at least I would love some submitted conspiracies.
Because
submitted theories we might not have thought of.
Maybe your specific points that we might have missed in certain conspiracies from the weeks prior. Anything like that. So yeah. I think that'll wrap it then.
All right.
You good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much for listening to SUSpiracy. First episode, inaugural episode. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Chemtrails?